it's an amazing experience. And I used to have so much respect, and I still do. I used to have so much respect when I was coaching those kids. I'm like, man, y'all 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and you're this dedicated to your goals. It was admirable. It was inspiring. And everybody I know who stayed at Montverde for at least 2 years and who bought in, they're all doing something great with their life now. And I still got relationships with a lot of them.
My ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond.
How NBA players get recruited to elite prep schools. What do I mean by prep schools? I mean Montverde Academy. I mean Prolific Prep. I mean, there's one, I think it's called Life something, I don't know, La Lemure up in Indiana. You know, these are schools where year in and year out, you see these elite basketball players who are ranked in the top 20, top 30 in the country, who go on to become McDonald's All-Americans, who go on to become stars in college basketball. A lot are one and done and go into the NBA, and they all consistently come from these schools. When I was younger, it was Oak Hill, it was Montrose, Finley Prep a little bit when I was in my 20s. There was a lot of schools that popped up and they consistently had these type of players. And so if you want to send your kid to one of these schools, I used to coach at Montverde. And I'm going to tell you exactly how we recruited when I was there. I'm not sure what they do now, but this is exactly what we did. So the thing about Montverde is this is an international boarding school. And because it's an international boarding school, there's a massive international population, and they have all the relationships and the pathways to get any international student in. This is great for a basketball school because a lot of talent or a lot of size is overseas or in Africa. So we had a lot of kids that came from Ivory Coast and from Senegal and Cameroon and Nigeria. And then we also had kids from Iceland, had some Canadians. We could get kids from all over the world because it was an international boarding school. So because of that, that is something that we would always look at. Like, okay, we're getting these kids from Cameroon. We have these relationships through the NBA, Basketball Without Borders. Or there might be a college coach who went overseas and saw a 15-year-old, and they might hit us up and be like, hey, I see this 15-year-old kid. Can y'all get him into school? Is he any good? Yeah, he probably going to be a lottery pick. That's what they always tell you. Okay, cool. Send us some tape. Tape look good. See him on tape. 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", arms as long as 10th Street in Indianapolis. All right, bet. Bring him over. We'll see what happens, right? That's one way that you get those international kids. Another way is you really look at guys that you've already had. So like in Montverde, we had Luke Mute. And what he did is once he made it to the NBA, he would go back to Cameroon and he would run his own clinics. He would run his own camps. And whoever stood out there, that's an immediate way for him to get them into Montverde, right? Because Montverde did right by him. He ended up going to UCLA, front cover LA Times, second round pick, goes to the NBA, plays for 10, 12 years. Now he's able to go back to his home city, his home country, and provide opportunities for those kids. So Luke Mute, he sent us Steve Mondumisi, who went on to play for Harvard, play for us play for me for 2 years at Montverde. I think he was there overall for 4. When we got fired, he sent us the next month Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, that's why he went to Montverde. He went to Montverde to play for us. He went to Montverde to play for Kevin Sutton. That was Luke's coach. That's why Joel Embiid was there for 8 months or whatever it was. They had him on JV. He left, went to the Rock in Gainesville, balled out, played with Florida Rams, essentially like the Montverde AAU team at that time, even though it was Adidas. Weird. And then he went on to Kansas, and now he's the MVP of the NBA. When you are involved in a school like that, they have so many relationships and you have so many relationships. The moment that people know that you are a reputable school, you are a credible school, that makes it a lot easier to recruit those kids internationally. Now, domestically, how does it happen? When you work in basketball, you have relationships. That's just how it is. Whether it's high school coaches, whether it's AAU coaches, whether it's trainers, whether it's barbers, whether it's church folks, whoever it is. And you have people who you trust. When these people that you trust call you and say, hey, this 15-year-old kid is interested in transferring, interested in leaving, that is the best situation possible for a coach on the other side at Montverde. Because if he's a kid that's already on varsity, if he's a kid that's already starring at his school, he's a kid that's already nationally ranked, He has put in his mind, I want to go to a prep school because you're going to be the first one, and there ain't that many options like that have the dorms, that have the great academics, that have good food, that have the Nike contract, that have an ability to play on ESPN every single year, that have the great relationships to send guys to high major D1 and to send guys to the NBA. We the cream of the crop. So the coach just lined everything up for us. All we got to do is just go in and just deliver. And that recruiting pitch to a prep school player is not that hard. So if you're somebody who is looking to transfer, you got to get with somebody in your area that has those relationships. You emailing coaches in Montverde, you sending your tape to Montverde, that's probably not going to work. So many people emailed us. So many people called us, left voicemails. So many people sent tape. And they would say, we'll pay our entire way. Montverde like $50,000 a year. If you're going to pay your entire way to play basketball here, you're probably not a kid who we want, who's going to help us win at an extremely high level. Another way that we recruit at Montverde is we would use college coaches. Because college coaches, they have recruiting budgets. They're able to hop on planes. They're able to get the hotels and get the rental cars and go see whomever, wherever. So they're hearing all these things. Hey, I know such and such. Look at the transfer, look at the transfer, look at the transfer. And the great thing about college coaches is that they feel like if they put a kid in your ecosystem at your school, they place a kid there, then that means that that kid is going to go to their college. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And that happens all the time. When I was at Montverde, I can't think of those 2 years where it was that many college coaches that when they put the kid there that we sent them there as well. There were a few, but it wasn't like it was set in stone. Afterwards, you just go look at some of the schools that these kids went to and who they were connected to. It was clear as day that they were just being placed there, and it was just a holdover. So if you are getting recruited by any coach, D2, D1, and you were thinking about transferring, if you tell that coach that you're thinking about transferring to a prep school, that's going to make that college coach excited because he knows that you were only telling him because you trust him. And he knows you ain't saying that to everybody. And he knows if he can put you at Montverde, that means he's probably going to get you to come to his college as well. Another way that we recruited at Montverde, and I know Kevin Sutton, he used to do this when he lived in Washington, D.C., and he started a program in Montrose. You know, these 8th grade and 7th grade tournaments, whether it's the Nationals, whether it's AAU or whatever it is, you got to go. And you got to see who's who. You got to see who are the best of the best. And there ain't that many grown men who are recruiting 8th graders, who are recruiting 9th graders, and the opportunity is right there in front of them right there, right now. Most people who are recruiting 8th graders and 9th graders who can really hoop is because they're promising them something down the line, whether it's an agent, whether it's a college scholarship, whether it's somebody that's promising they can get you to the NBA. But for me to be able to recruit an 8th grader or a 9th grader right there at that moment and say, hey, this fall we can get you enrolled in Montverde, that's something that they don't take lightly. And that's something that, once again, it makes it very easy to close that deal because these are very real situations. And Montverde is not the only school that's doing this. When I went to the Dallas EYBL event this past year, you know, I met the coach from Prolific Prep, and he was there, and he was looking at a few kids. And then a couple of months later on Twitter, these kids announced they were transferring to Prolific Prep. You know, I had people that went down to USA Basketball, watched the U16. I think that might have been a team, or they might have been U17. I can't remember. I think they were in Puerto Rico this past year. And they said when they were down there that they saw the coach for Prolific Prep down there too. He was on his grizzly, really grinding, really recruiting. So, elite Nike EYBL events, playing USA Basketball. Those are prime places for Montverde and Prolific Prep and La Lemure to go get talent that they know can help them win a national championship. So that's another reason to be inside of the Nike ecosystem. That's another reason to play USA Basketball, because the exposure just isn't for the NBA or for colleges. It can be exposure to get you to a great high school program too. Now, Montverde isn't for everybody. You're going to be away from your parents. That school is 60% Asian. They are strict when it comes to rules. You know, you're not going to have the traditional dating thing. I'm not even sure if Montverde had a prom. When you go to Montverde, you are sacrificing your teenagehood, your childhood. And as the parents, you got to get that out of their mind. You got to get that out of your mind, right? Your childhood involved prom. Your childhood involved, for me, going to Black Expo and Circle City Classic and having the girlfriends in there and all that stuff. Like, that was my childhood. But I would have traded all of that to be an elite basketball player where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on damn near 365 days a year, there was a coach who was invested in my basketball future. I would have wanted that. So you got to have that mentality when you step in. When you get to Montverde, this is your first year of college. You're staying in a dorm. You're sharing a bathroom on the floor. Not like on the actual floor, but on a dorm floor. You're eating dorm food at night. You taking classes you don't want to take, and you all there for the sake of basketball. Every single thing that you go through your freshman year, the homesick, I don't like the coach, they ain't playing me how I want, the girls here is whack, music's trash, we can't party like we want to. That's the same thing that's going to happen when you get to college. And the fact remains, if you can get that out of the way now, when you walk onto a college campus, you already experienced it. You are a leg up over every other freshman. The best compliment that a college coach could have gave us when we were at Montverde was when our player got there, they would call back and tell us, out of all of the freshmen, yours is the most ready to play right now. And we knew they weren't joking, because we started watching the games, and he'd be the first one off the bench or maybe in the starting lineup, while the other freshman sitting there and he's suspended. It's not for everybody. But if you are someone who's taking this extremely serious, you're someone who wants to go to the NBA, you're someone who wants to be a high-level professional basketball player, maybe even overseas, you want a Division I scholarship, if you get an opportunity to go to one of those schools, I highly suggest doing it. If you are serious about this basketball career, if you're serious about being separated from your parents at that time in your life and you get used to playing basketball where it's all on you. Because when you stay in your normal environment, you are protected. You're so protected. You got mommy's cooking. You got daddy's protection. You got the head coach, got the assistant coach, got big brother, got big sister, got all your friends, got your middle school coach, got your pastor, you got your barber, you got your neighborhood friends, you got your enemy, you got everybody. Even the people that don't like you still protecting you. If you go to Montverde, you hear like everybody else. So what, you came down here from Chicago to Orlando? He came from Japan. He came from New Zealand. He came from Cameroon. He been here 5 years and ain't seen his mom in 5 years because of basketball. You complain about the first 5 weeks. It's an amazing experience. And I used to have so much respect, and I still do. I used to have so much respect when I was coaching those kids. I'm like, man, y'all 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and you're this dedicated to your goals. It was admirable. It was inspiring. And everybody I know who stayed at Montverde for at least 2 years and who bought in, they're all doing something great with their life now. And I still got relationships with a lot of them. And even after our time in Montverde was done, because the foundation was set, because the seeds were planted, look at what Montverde developed into. Kevin Boyle watered that thing and just ran with it.